What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout Spot where you already know it's Real Talk, Jets Talk today. Live from my man cave, it's your boy Johnny, and let's talk Jets because today was a very, very good day to be a Jet fan. At least for me it was. Because Woody Johnson finally came to his senses. Woody Johnson finally made a good decision, and he fires head coach Robert Salah. A move that should have been made after last season. Nonetheless, 5 games in, the Jets at 2-3, severely underachieving. He makes the right move and he cans Robert Salah. And now the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, will be the interim head coach. And for those fans that aren't happy about seeing Robert Salah leave, then maybe you need to go with him. Because at the end of the day, this was the right move. Robert Salah, as nice of a guy as he was not the guy that was going to take us to the promised land. He was not the guy that was going to be able to lead this roster to a division title or a playoff run. He just wasn't that guy. He might be a good defensive coordinator. He was a terrible head coach. So I think this was absolutely the right move. But again, this should have happened before the season started. Either way, what this move tells me is that Woody Johnson at least sees the big picture here. He realizes that there's a small window of opportunity with a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers and a very good roster on paper to possibly win this division and make the playoffs. And he doesn't want this season to go to the wayside. So for that, Woody, I applaud you because I didn't think that you even cared about winning or losing because we never, ever expected you to make a move like this. This is the first time that Woody Johnson has ever fired a coach in season. And trust me when I tell you, he's had some crappy coaches. Let's not forget Adam Gase. And even Adam Gase made it to the end of the season and didn't get canned. But nonetheless, like I said, Woody sees the picture here. There's potential in a wide open AFC East to win this division and make the playoffs. But it was not going to happen under Robert Salah's leadership. So he had the courage to say, enough is enough. Let's see if a different voice can spark this team like Antonio Pierce sparked the Raiders last year when he was put into his interim role. And I love the move. Like I said, it couldn't have happened at a better time, especially with us playing Buffalo next week with an opportunity, if we win, to not only change our season and change the momentum, but be in first place in the division. So kudos to you, Woody. I mean, like I said, I've been very, very critical of him in the past, but I got to give credit where credit is due. And now, is Jeff Ulbrich going to be able to be that guy to turn things around? Well, the right answer to that is we don't know. But what we do know is Robert Salah wasn't going to be that guy, so you might as well give this a shot. I mean, it's clear when you talk to players, when you read stuff in the media, that Jeff Ulbrich is very respected in the locker room. And if he can hold players accountable and now hold his coaching staff accountable, maybe we got an opportunity to turn this thing around, man, because now Jeff Ulbrich is not a peer of Nathaniel Hackett. He's not a peer of Keith Carter. He's now their boss. So if they're not calling the proper plays and they're not coaching their units properly, he has the opportunity to rip them a new one, to challenge them to be better. And if they're not better, then he has an opportunity to demote them and put somebody else in their roles. And I fully expect them to do that because it's not just about player accountability. It's about holding your coaching staff accountable as well. That's why you wear a headset in game, right? So you can communicate with your coordinators. And if things aren't going up to par, up to your standards as a coach, you have the ability to tell them to change it around. And if you're not happy, rip them a new one. How many times did we see Robert Salah after a poor offensive play call, okay, after having to burn a timeout to negate a delay of game penalty, not even say anything to anybody from the coaching staff? He wasn't ripping anybody a new one using his headset. He was just standing there with that dumb look and his arms crossed like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. It can't be that way, man. Your job as the head coach is to hold guys accountable, hold them to a higher standard, challenge them to be better. You know, I mean, we saw the same nonsense week after week, the undisciplined play, this team not coming out prepared, you know, in the first quarters. Like, you know, enough was enough. Enough was enough. This was a much needed change. And now Jeff Ulbrich has the opportunity to prove that he's head coaching material. What better way to do that than to take this roster that's underachieving and turn it around, man? But it starts with player accountability. And if he can do that, I think that he has an opportunity to be decent in this role. And all we need is for somebody to be competent, man. Because like I said, we have a good roster on paper. And it's very, very clear that the players on the team, were not inspired to play for Salah anymore. I mean, they weren't buying what he was selling anymore. It was old. It was tired. And there was no results. There was no substance behind it. And if you don't believe me, just listen to Quincy Williams' interview at the end of the London game. He said it. He said it. He said he was tired of hearing the same nonsense every single week. People have to be accountable here from top to bottom. And when a player says that from top to bottom, he means from the coaching staff on down to the players. That was a direct shot at Robert Salah and his poor leadership. And he even went on to say that one of the things that he needed to work on was to be a better leader in the locker room. Well, when players say that, it's because they're not getting the proper leadership from their head coach. So they feel like they have to do their part to police the locker room. It's not their job to do that. I mean, I understand Robert Salah's a nice guy. I understand that he wants to be a player's coach. But being a player's coach doesn't mean that you can't coach your players hard. That was my biggest problem with Robert Salah, man. You're not a defensive coordinator anymore, my man. You were a head coach. And now you're out the door. My only question is, what's going to happen to all those receipts that you're supposed to be collecting from us? Remember that? Remember that years ago? I'm collecting receipts. Well, did they go with you or did you leave them in your office? Because I heard that right after he was fired, he was escorted out of the building by security. They didn't even allow him to talk to any of the players, which I thought was crazy. Like, what happened in that meeting? I mean, did he flip out? I mean, I don't know if that's a common business practice, but I would think that after you fire a coach, that ultimately the players supposedly like that you would at least allow him to address the team. No, he was just booted out by security. They were like, we're done. That's crazy, man. And I heard that he came into work yesterday. I don't know if he worked a full day, but I heard that him and some of the coaches came in and they were looking at the Minnesota game film and then they left early. Then all of a sudden this morning he gets canned. And another report was that he got canned 5 minutes after he decided that he was probably going to demote Nathaniel Hackett and promote Todd Downing to call plays. Isn't that crazy? I just wish that Hackett would have went with him. Because there's a lot of Jet fans that are saying, all right, you got rid of Salah, but you didn't really get rid of the real problem, which is Nathaniel Hackett. He is a poor offensive coordinator. I mean, look at the way this offense is operating under his leadership. And you're right. I mean, I can't disagree with you. But at the end of the day, we know that him and Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, are a package deal. At least that's what I think, right? And I'm sure that's what most Jet fans think. And the crazy part about it is there was a report after that said he isn't going anywhere. So they actually asked Jeff Ulbrich that question during his press conference earlier today. And he basically said that he didn't anticipate any changes, right, in title. So you get a feeling that Nathaniel Hackett isn't going anywhere. But could he demote him from his play calling duties? That's something that that Ulbrich will have to think about and ultimately make a decision about at some point this week. Now, I don't fault him for telling the media that he was thinking about it during this press conference today, because this was literally 4 hours after it was announced that he was the interim coach, man. That whole press conference, he looked like he was in shock. He was nervous and he was in shock. I think it's still sinking in that he's the coach. You got to give him a day or two to kind of process things. And he did say he's going to take a hard look at all the processes. But at the end of the day, he's no longer a peer of Hackett. He's no longer a peer of, in my opinion, the worst offensive line coach in the league, Keith Carter. He's now their boss. So you got to challenge them to be better. It's not just about player accountability. It's about holding your coaching staff accountable. They got to be better. And if they're not better, then you got to consider making changes. And that's something that Salah never, ever considered, which ultimately was his downfall. So again, Ulbrich, give him some time this week. There is some rumblings in the media from Connor Hughes that said that Todd, promoting Todd Downing to the play caller, to the primary play caller, and demoting Hackett was a strong possibility. So it may happen. And if it does, it'll be interesting to see how it works, man. Sometimes, again, a different voice, maybe he's a little bit more creative and innovative. And this is an offense that needs a spark. They need some creativity. They need some innovation. Part of that is not playing or not utilizing the players that you have on offense to the best of their abilities, not putting them in the best positions to succeed. We got to see more of Malachi Corley. I mean, again, you draft this guy. You talked him up, high hopes. He's the Yak King. We got to create some plays to get him open in space to see if he can get some big plays that will ignite this offense. We got to get him in there. We got to get Mike Williams more involved, and we got to get Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall going. Last week was a good start. Garrett Wilson, 13 catches and a touchdown. But we got to build on that. You know what I mean? And getting Breece going, that's a must. If you can't run the ball with him, then run 2 running back sets with Braylon Allen. Let him be your primary ball carrier. And then you create some passing opportunities for Breece. He can catch the football. So if he can't run it, let's see if we can get him open in space. He is also a home run hitter. Again, that's part of the creativity that we're missing that hopefully we're going to get now. And if Ulbrich doesn't see it from Hackett, make a change. See if you can see it from someone else. It doesn't hurt. And as far as the offensive line, they've been trash. And it can't be our players because this is a makeshift line with veterans. It's about technique, it's about scheme, and it's about execution. And that falls on the offensive line coach. Get this guy out of here. Okay, if there's anything that I would pat Ulbrich on the back for, is if he just ultimately gets rid of the offensive line coach Keith Carter. He's the worst. Okay, he's the worst, and he's the main reason why Aaron Rodgers is taking a beating every week. It has to stop. It has to stop. But again, hopefully you fans, you Jet fans, are excited about this because it was needed. We needed a new voice. You know what it's like for these players to sit in that meeting room and then all of a sudden Robert Salah comes in saying the same garbage every single week. Meanwhile, there's no substance behind it, no positive results. It's got to be demoralizing, man. Well, at least now a new voice will walk into the room that will hopefully ignite them, energize them. And hopefully we see it on the field. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than Monday Night Football against a division rival for first place, the Buffalo Bills. And they're not exactly playing great football either. I mean, they've lost 2 in a row. So this is the right time for the Jets to just switch that momentum around and get going in the right direction. So they got to take advantage of that. At least with Ulbrich, I got some optimism that they can do that. Under Salah, especially with an extra day of preparation, I knew that we were probably going to get embarrassed again on national TV next week, and I wasn't looking forward to it. So at least this Monday, I'm looking forward to the game, and I'm hoping that Ulbrich can turn things around for this team. But again, Woody Johnson, great move. I applaud you for that. But anyhow, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you like this move? Do you think it was the right time? And ultimately, do you think that Ulbrich will be able to turn things around? I'd love to hear what my fellow fans got to say in the chat. And as always, if you're new to watching my videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that like button and make sure you're along for the ride. It's going to be a crazy couple weeks here at the hangout spot with the Jets, but we're going to be all over it. So again, to all my Jet fan people, my followers, I appreciate the love and support. Keep your head up, man. Hopefully there's positive times ahead. This is your boy Johnny signing out from the hangout spot, and I'll talk to everybody soon.